Welcome to SteamFeed Radio. Join us on our journey to explore the vast social space. Well, all right. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Yeah, bring it on. We are back. All right, woot woot, as they say. All right, it's good to be back. We have had one heck of a time switching platforms, but we have finally finished that, and everything is working out just fine. So it's I'm glad to hear that. Good to be back on the air. It's a lot of fun. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for being patient. And thank you to Sean Smith and to Paul Cooley for all your help in getting this all put back together. I appreciate that. And the funny thing is, I had to tell, we're having severe thunderstorms tonight. So tonight, if we lose power, Sean, I believe it's a sign from up above that this is just never going to happen. We have had one heck of a time working with this. So we have transferred everything over, and we think we have it all. So hopefully everything goes really well tonight. I'm looking forward to having a really good show. We're going to be Paul Cooley will be joining me in just about 3 minutes, and we will be talking with Sean in about 10 minutes after that. Paul and I will do our app of the week, and then we will bring Sean in. And Sean does a lot of work with cyberbullying. It's a very important subject. It's really important for educators and for parents. It's so important that they have this information that Sean has to get to share with us. It's I've talked with Sean many times, and it really is good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. We are back on the air. SteamFeed Radio is here. We are enjoying our new sounds from Spreaker. Spreaker seems to be a very solid program, and we're very happy to be on Spreaker. So that's a good thing. So, it's just one of those things when you go through this stuff. Getting things changed over was quite the battle because it was. It's not that it's any more complicated. It's just a completely different system, and it takes a while to work the bugs out of the system. And that's exactly what happened with us. We had to get the bugs out of the system, but we have done that. And I think everything is going to be way A-okay. So that's a good thing. So I hope everybody's doing well. The show, of course, is sponsored by SteamFeed. Those of you that do not know SteamFeed, head out to SteamFeed, that's one word, .com, and learn from some of the absolute best professionals in the business. SteamFeed offers writing and pretty much education from everybody, people that actually do the job day in and day out. They are the ultimate professionals. They're wonderful people. And don't be afraid to give them a call if you have a question and you'd like to ask a question further. They're reach out, send an email, connect on Twitter. They're all really friendly and open to that type of thing. And they can tell you about everything from LinkedIn to, our writers talk about, we have LinkedIn people, we have business entrepreneur people, we have SEO people, we have Facebook people. It's an absolutely wonderful collection of people, and it's really cool. So right now, let me go ahead and see if I can pull in my co-host. Let me see if I can beam him up here. Let's see. Paul, are you there? Paul? Hello, Paul. Hey, Paul. Well, I'm not hearing you, Paul. Why don't you try calling in again one more time, and let's see what happens. Oh, here we are. Is that Paul?
There we go.
There we go. I had 2 calls coming in. I wasn't sure what was going on.
That was weird. All right. How's it going?
Hey, this is good. At least we know we're working. You know what I mean?
That is an improvement.
We are actually getting things working. That's great. So hey, let's go ahead and jump right in, because I want to get. We have about 10 minutes to talk about apps. And I want to make sure that we get Sean in this time. I don't know if you heard the intro, but I thought it was funny. We're having thunderstorms, and I thought, if we lose the power, there's a sign. You know what I mean? It's just like
this is the third time I think.
Yeah.
So, Sean. Oh man.
I sure like
that works.
I like the new system much better. It just took a while to get everything figured out, but I like it a lot better.
Yeah, so far so good, and the quality seems to be there, so I'm excited.
Well, let's go. Let's dive in and go ahead and what apps you got for us this week?
All right, so this week, a little bit different. So this is not necessarily a mobile app. It is mobile friendly, but it's not something that you're going to go to the App Store to download. This right here is you're going to go to a web browser and look up liveminutes.com. And I've been playing around with this for about 2 weeks now, and I'm actually really enjoying this. And what this is it's almost kind of like a virtual workspace. And the nice thing is, before I get into some of the features I like, the cool part is, for right now, those of you, there's a free trial going on. Eventually, they are going to be moving to a paid platform if you want more than 2 workspaces. But the cool part is, for those of you that are dealing either with if you're outsourcing different projects to different freelancers, or if you do have a virtual team, this could be a really nice missing puzzle piece for you. So how this works is you have multiple workspaces, and it's as simple as kind of creating a new workspace. You label that workspace whatever you want, so whatever projects you have going on, and then you invite your team members into that particular workspace. And if you're familiar with Evernote, it kind of looks like that, where you have a bunch of different notes. And so technically, if you want to call it, each note can be different aspects of your project. And the cool part is there is, when you have a file there, anybody and everybody can edit it if you want them to. There is a chat feature, so you guys can type and chat if you want. And then another really cool feature is it does have its own conference calling feature. And so it will sync up with Skype, which is pretty darn cool. And it really allows you and a team that is not in the same room to be able to collaborate and get projects done and really stay on the same page, which is always a must. So it allows you to be able to upload documents, files, pictures, to-do lists, all that kind of fun stuff. The thing that I also really like, because I definitely am a fan of Evernote, is it does sync up with Evernote, so you kind of have a backup in a sense that way, and you have all of your notes there as well. You can share documents, and like I said, you got the visual as well as the audio, which is really nice. We were testing this out today on another guy was testing out on an iPad, and it worked really nice. So again, it's not an app that you're going to go to the App Store to download, but you set up an account right now, a free account, and you guys can start collaborating right away.
So it's kind of a work it's a work situation, so that people in different places, maybe in different countries even, can work together and keep up to date on documents and tasks and all that type of thing. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, that really is. And that's always been kind of a frustration, because I've used a lot of different project management kind of systems out there and collaboration systems, and none of them are quite like this, and that's why I think this one stands out to me. These guys are pretty brand new. I mean, there's still features coming. They're kind of the new kids on the block, I guess. But the nice thing about this is it really keeps everything organized and makes it so everybody can really get a feel for what you're talking about, compared to more of a collaboration where it's maybe just more or less forum, threads and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, I really like this. You get the visual as well as the audio, and you stay on the same page. We've been using it this past week for different workflows and different time. What's the word I'm looking for? Storylines. There we go.
Okay.
Brochures
Okay.
we're working on. And it's been working really cool. So the copywriter would get in there and do his stuff, and the graphic designer would get in there and do her stuff. And so it's been working really cool.
So, and what's the name of that again?
So this is liveminutes.com.
5 minutes. I'm actually going to write that one down, too. I always do. I'm still... Actually, I've been turning people on to Fonto. I'm still...
Still having fun with that one, huh?
I love that. I absolutely love that thing. It's crazy. I finally had to put a stop to, okay, just put a picture up without Fonto. It's okay. You know what I mean?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Oh, that's great.
Cool. So that's you got anything else? You got one you can throw in real quick?
The only other one that I could cover, if you like, real quick, that I kind of brought up in I think it was our last official show that ended early due to technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And real quick, and this is another more productivity style app, but this other one is Workflowy. And I'm actually really enjoying this one too. There's so many to-do apps available today.
Oh, Lord, yes.
And it's like, who knows which one to use kind of thing. But the cool thing about Workflowy is it's so almost brain-dead simple in the sense of design, in the sense of how it functions and features and all that. It's just like, I create a list. Okay, that makes sense. But the thing that really makes Workflowy stand out is if you picture, you have kind of your master categories. So let's just say work and maybe personal. So you have those two main categories, let's say. But let's say under work, then you could have, again, your to-do list or even different projects that you're working on. And here's the cool part that really separates Workflowy out than a lot of other to-do lists. And that is I can click on something that's in my list, and it will actually go down a level. So it opens up a new blank sheet with the title of whatever that project is. And now if I need to, I can create another list, kind of a sub-list underneath that one. And you kind of have to see it to really get the feel for it, because it keeps it so clean, so simple. And it's a really good way you can create little notes, and then when you're done and completed, you can cross it off. But it really is a cool thing in the sense of if a project is going to take more or maybe involve certain steps that need to be done, or maybe they need to be done in a certain order, or whatever the case may be, Workflow really allows you to do that. And another cool part is, yes, there's a mobile app as well as the desktop version, which I really like. So that's another cool one that will hopefully help people stay productive.
And that's pretty cool, because I think, at this point now, we all talk about how it's easy to get overwhelmed. In fact, you wrote a really good blog the other day, a really good article the other day, which I really enjoyed, about being overwhelmed. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed. And every time, I can't remember the ridiculous number of new apps that come out every day. And it's just, so you finally get to where you're comfortable with one that you're using, and then another one comes out, and you go, ooh, well, I have to go check that one out. And before you know it, you're wasting time between 100 different apps. I mean, I'm doing a lot more of the basic and sticking with what works type thing. I'll try new things, but if they don't blow my socks off and they don't beat what I already have, then I just go right back to what I was using. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I've really had to make sure I kind of qualify. I have my own qualifications now, where because I've committed to really using Evernote, I'm always keeping an eye on what apps are integratable and sync up with Evernote. And that's kind of how I'm like, okay, if that's it, now it stands a chance of giving my attention to it. So,
yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do to keep things simple.
I agree. Well, let me see if we can get Sean in here. And I also agree, I love Evernote. So, Sean, if you're listening, give us a call. But, yeah, I love Evernote. Evernote is one of those ones that it gets better and better, and it's one of those ones that I keep just going back to. It doesn't let me down.
Yeah. No, I can't say it's ever let me down either. Yeah, that's a good point. I really have.
Yep.
It's a daily use.
I think we have Sean with us. Sean, are you there? It doesn't let me down. Hey, Sean?
I'm here and I'm live.
We're hearing the echo in the background.
Yeah, I've got this wonderful new app on SteamFeed.
There you go. It's gone now.
Okay, so no storms.
No storms, and I believe, go ahead and talk some more, and let me make sure you're coming in.
Alas, before York, I knew him.
See, I'm not seeing I'm not seeing any numbers coming up with you on the line, and I'm only showing one phone call. So let me see. Why don't you try calling in one more time?
I am really here.
Yes.
All right, hang on.
This is just crazy. You just gotta go. It just drives me nuts. This poor guy, we cannot get him on the air. Okay.
No kidding.
We're going to answer. Add to group call. Okay. Now we'll try again.
One more time with feeling.
I'm not sure. I show signs when Paul's calling, but I don't show anything when you're calling. So I'm not sure what's going on. And I see that you're in the chat, so I'm assuming that we're okay. I mean, it just drives me crazy.
I quite honestly, maybe the gods are completely against us.
I don't know. It's bizarre because I see that everybody else is working, but I'm not hearing any. I mean, I can hear you fine, but it doesn't look like it's recording you.
Maybe I don't really exist.
I know. Maybe that's the case. Are you calling in from a landline?
No, I'm calling in from Skype.
Call in from a landline or a cell phone.
All right.
Let's try that. We'll try one more thing.
All right. Why not?
Is this insanity or what?
Yeah, instead of talking about cyberbullying, we're getting bullied by all these cyber issues or tech issues.
I'll say. Sean? Are you still there, Paul?
I am here.
Okay. Now we're just waiting for Sean. This is just crazy. Because you're coming through just fine.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, yeah. I definitely like definitely this platform seems a lot more clearer than the previous.
Yeah, it's a lot clearer. I'm not sure. Okay, here we are. Answering this call will put your active call on hold or add to group call. Okay, it shows that you're up there, and I hope we can hear you.
I hope you can hear me too.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's go through the show. I mean, it's not showing that you're recording that I'm getting anything from you, but that might be because you're the second call. It might be. I'm not sure what Skype actually does. It worked the other day when I had two people call in, and it worked just fine. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
Technology.
Yes, you absolutely love it, don't you?
in a poke my eyes out sort of way.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was, first of all, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and let us know who Sean Smith is and what it is that you do that I feel is extremely important regarding cyberbullying.
I am the apparently non-existent owner of thatsocialmediaguy.com, and I do social media coaching and consulting, but I also have a pretty heavy focus on cyberbullying, which is an issue that hits us all these days, whether directly or indirectly. I go around and I speak to schools and students, teachers, administrators, but more often than not, I'm trying to focus a little bit more on the parents, because that is where we are really seeing the real disconnect when it comes to dealing with cyberbullying issues.
Well, let me say that we are having success because now the meters are all moving just fine, so we know that you're there. You do exist. We have verified.
I would look really funny being up on the stage by myself knowing I'm not there.
So let's go ahead and go into one of the things that I wanted to really, because I think this is so important. What actually, can you give a definition? I mean, when someone says cyberbullying, what actually are you talking about?
So cyberbullying is an extension of what we would all know as bullying. And that, in the purest definition these days, bullying involves the power struggle between a child and another child, or a child and an adult. And bullying is nothing more than power over another individual, whether it be physical, whether it be mental. What cyberbullying is taking that same type of environment and moving it into an online environment, using various platforms such as SMS, social media, web, what have you.
So it's really not changed as far as the bullying goes from, say, like our generation, but it's just taken on a whole nother form or a whole nother avenue. Is that correct?
Yeah. What you're looking at is a lot of people don't seem to realize, or maybe not realize, but not connect the dots, that schools are the original social network. And what used to happen in schools would stay within the school grounds is now being taken out into a broader field. So something embarrassing that might have happened to you at your school is now being shared out across the entire school district. So really all that's happened is we've taken what was a local issue and turned it into a far larger issue.
So now you're talking, yeah, I completely understand. And I you know, when we talked earlier, one of the things when you said that was schools are the original social platform, that really resonated with me, because I mean I remember that school was the place to hang out. I mean, that was where you hung with your friends. That's where everything happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean you take a look, as much as kids may dread going back to school in September, you will be hard-pressed to find a kid walking through the doors of a school come the first day and not be excited about seeing all their friends and telling all the stories of what happened to them over the summer. And then throughout the year, the school ends up being the heart of pretty much all of their social activities, regardless of neighbors and friends and family. Their athletic activities, their education activities, their trips that they take are all, more often than not, oriented around the school environment. So stuff that happens at school is shared at school, but now it's also being shared on social media.
Right. And that's now, you're up in British Columbia, correct?
I am.
And Paul, you are in California, correct?
I am.
And I am in Gettysburg. Where am I? I'm in Gettysburg. And I think, Paul, do you have that same issue, cyberbullying? Is that an issue for you in your area?
You know, I'm sure it is. Like, I'm not as connected as far as that goes. You know, I mean, I'm dealing more with the business owners, you know, on a regular basis. So, I mean, I would imagine if it's happening in real life, it's going to happen, you know, in the virtual world. So I'm sure it's happening all over. That would be my guess. I'm hearing stories about it, though.
And it's, the reason I asked is because Sean and I have been talking about this for quite a while, and it's a subject I'm very interested in. And I've talked quite a bit with some people here, and we have a very small community, but it's an issue here as well. So I was wondering, Sean, if you could kind of touch on the globalness of this. It's you're in Canada, we're in the United States. This isn't a U.S. problem or a Canadian problem, correct?
No, absolutely not. I think probably the most recent and most well-known story was the Amanda Todd story. How her plea out on YouTube reached viral proportions across the globe. Here is a 15-year-old girl who killed herself because of issues around bullying and cyberbullying. And it wasn't really picked up on until it was too late. But when it did get picked up on, it was oriented around a Bob Dylan-style video of her saying what her problems and the issues that she had faced. And that hit really a global scale, and that really brought more attention to the world of cyberbullying and had a lot of people starting to ask questions. And unfortunately, social media was being blamed for cyberbullying.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than a tool.
Yes, and that's a really good point. It's a tool, and it's not. In fact, I was talking to some people on the Google Glass site, and we were talking about how there's potential there. There's a huge creep factor that can be with Google Glass, and I made the comment that I don't think it really matters. What the device. There's always going to be someone that uses the tool incorrectly. And somebody wrote back, I can't remember who it was, but it was a great response. They said, no matter the device, there'll always be a tool to make it creepy. And I was like, that's perfect.
That's pretty much the way I'm doing it.
I thought that was great.
I try, when I'm speaking to teachers and schools and parents, I bring in a hammer in my presentation, and I put the hammer on the table, and I say, this is a hammer. Until I pick it up, it's just a hammer.
Good point.
When I pick it up, I can either build with it or I can destroy with it, but it's my choice as to what I do with it. When I put it back down again, it's still just a hammer. That's
excellent. You came up with, when we were talking, you brought up some interesting stats, and I've talked to people and brought this stat up, and a lot of people are blown away. The one that blows me away, that I find so interesting, is that 68% of students have seen a classmate naked online. Is that the correct? That blows me away. That didn't happen in my world.
You'll see varying ranges of numbers. I mean, the accuracy of the internet can be iffy at the best of times. But you're generally looking between 60 and 65, upwards of 68%. Will have seen some form of nudity online oriented towards a classmate. And that is a direct result of kids being kids. They take pictures of themselves all the time. And the world of no filters, they figure, well, I'm just sharing this with my friends, with no thought whatsoever that their friends will in likelihood share that with their friends. And then it just snowballs from there.
What do you think about that stat, Paul? What's your reaction to that? Because that just knocked my socks off. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, I think of, my immediate thought was, wow, okay, that shows that parents need to up their game, and really create some borders and train some common sense and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, that's what parents are up against these days.
And that actually is a great segue, Sean. Can you talk a bit about number one, what are some warning signs for parents to look out for, and go into what are some of the things that parents need to do and be aware of? I mean, they have to be proactive, correct?
Absolutely. The need for the parents to be more involved and more engaged with their kids' online lives it's not a nicety anymore. It's a necessity. You wouldn't hand a car over your child and say, go drive. I don't know anything about this car. During my presentation, I refer to social media as a bit of a hand grenade. You can hand the hand grenade over to a child, but would you leave them alone with it? No, because you know that they, out of sheer curiosity, are going to pull the pin, release the spoon, and wait to see what happens.
Good point.
That's really what it boils down to, is parents needing to become more familiar with the world of social media and where their kids are.
Yeah, and you made a point which I thought was very interesting. I'd love to hear you expand on a little bit. Was when you see your child all of a sudden not holding their phone every 5 minutes, not engaging with on social sites when they have been. I thought that was a really subtle warning sign, but one that I don't think a lot of people would have thought about right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is so very, very true. And I often marvel at the looks on teachers' faces when I mention this in my presentation, is that if you see a child put down their cell phone, not use their iPad, not want to hop on the computer and check out their Facebook profile, that is probably the biggest sign that there is something going on, that they don't want to see what is happening and being said about them online. For the exact same reason that when you and I were growing up, we didn't want to go to school.
Right.
We didn't want to go to school because we didn't want to deal with it. We didn't want to have another day of being called names or being pushed around. And this, however, is the new world. So if you have a child that has a mobile device and they're always on it, I mean, you can't hardly find a teenager today that isn't on their mobile device at some point. If they're suddenly not in that environment, if they're suddenly not on Facebook, if they suddenly drop their cell phone and just leave it in their pocket, that's about the biggest sign to say, uh-oh, there's something going on here. And then find out why.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and I think it's one that is not so obvious to people. I think that was a really great point. So what about so we're talking about parents, but tell me about some things that educators can do, because I think the two biggest lines of defense, and there's probably a better line of defense, and we'll get into that one. I think you know what I'm talking about. We'll get into that after this. But tell us a little bit about some of the things that educators need to look out for, because they also are, very involved in this.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of the home, the people that are most engaged with kids these days, of course, are teachers and administrators. And one of the things that I find with a lot of schools and a lot of school districts is they are intensely afraid of invading privacy. They have privacy rules and regulations at every school district level that are very important to them, and they protect them with almost mother bear-like fervency because they don't want to have that invaded. But what school districts and teachers all need to understand is you are not invading their privacy. Social media is not private. It's public. Regardless of the social media privacy settings that you put up, regardless of how you engage online, it is on the internet. If you don't see it, that doesn't mean that it's not out there. And I think once the school district gets past the idea that they are invading these kids' spaces and understand that this is really no different than you walking down the street and seeing one of your students doing something bad to another student, things will change. And that, I think, is probably the biggest hurdle towards being able to deal with a lot of these issues. I also think that putting that into the mix, if teachers found and the schools found a way to actually engage the students online in their environment,
excellent,
would get a little bit more of an insight into where things are going and what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, because that's where they are. Engage them where they are. That's an excellent point.
I've often said that I can't understand why an application like Twitter isn't being used in the classroom. Because if you think back to when we were kids, the kid who sat in the back of the class was the kid who was the most shy, or the kid who thought he was stupid and was not comfortable in sticking their hands up and asking a question. Whereas if we had these social media tools in play, in the classroom. The student who wouldn't have asked a question before can now ask a question, but it's done anonymously. And the teacher can answer that question, and nobody would know where that question originated from, but the kid would still get the answer. And I think once the schools get past the fear of social media and the potential problems around it, I do understand where teachers come from and not wanting to potentially be directly involved with their students because they don't want their personal lives being shared with these kids. I understand that because I'm married to a teacher. But, I mean, there are ways around that. And I think if they utilize the tools that the students are using today to communicate amongst themselves, then things might change. That doesn't mean that the kids aren't going to find some other place to talk amongst themselves online, but, I mean, at least we're engaging in an environment they're familiar with.
That's a really good point, and I think I am very proud of the community that I live in. We are one of the smallest and least populated counties in the state, and we have a thing called Adams County Connected, where we are working with the local community. I'm on a task force. We're working with the local communities, including the medical people, the 911 emergency people, all the different entities. The schools are a big part of it, and we're learning as a community to use these technology and social media tools much better. Even to go so far as even the tourist industry. And we got a thing from the governor, which was really nice. They came down and said that you guys are like light years ahead of the rest of the state. You guys are doing stuff that other people haven't even thought about. So, and I love the fact of what you said. Now, when I talk to, like, just for example, DJ or some of my friends on the West Coast that are teachers, using social media tools and stuff is happening. I think that's just the nature of the beast. It happens on the West Coast and on the East Coast first, But I think that's a really good point.
I find actually that a lot of smaller communities, especially in the United States, a lot of the smaller communities are the ones that are engaging and utilizing the social media tools and platforms that are out there because they're a small community, because it's already an intimate environment. Going online and having a similar intimate environment to what the community is actually like is much easier. It's not as easy as it would be in, say, Vancouver or Chicago or what have you. You've already got a working relationship with a lot of the people that would be online anyway.
That's excellent.
You see a lot of smaller communities. I know there's one school district in Indiana, I believe, that has done some just absolutely remarkable stuff with social media and being more engaged with the student body. And their bullying program is just exceptional, with a noticeable reduction in bullying, mainly because they recognize who's bullying online.
See, there you go. That's the kind of stuff where we need to take that leap, and I agree with you. I think school districts are leery because, well, and again, we've all talked about this before. Social media is in its infancy, really. I mean, so we're all still learning. Even those of us that are heavily involved in it are still learning. You know what I mean?
Which is why, SteamFeed, we are pretty adamant about, we're not experts. There's no ninjas, gurus.
Yes.
Because you can't be a total expert in something that literally changes every single day.
Right. I agree. So, Paul, tell me, what do you are you learning anything? Are you going to go check your kid's cell phone now? What's happening in your mind there?
Well, yeah, actually, we've got it locked down pretty good here. I think we've actually had this conversation with Kim before, QR Kim, and my kids, they're just not into the social thing at all, which is probably a good thing right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a learning experience, and it makes sense, and it's good to hear that teachers, well, at least some, are using things like Twitter, and hopefully more will catch on, because I think that's a great idea. Use the tools that are available to you to keep
definitely
what's going on.
And I mean, it's one of the few environments where teachers, parents, and students can all share the same space with a certain amount of comfort. And it's a great place for parents and teachers to engage about what's going on in Johnny's life. I've been trying to encourage our own school district to utilize things like Google Hangouts to have meetings between PTAs and school boards, because trying to find a place and a time to get everybody in the same place at the same time is difficult. So, I mean, the tools are out there, but quite often you'll find that school districts are way behind the times. You take a look in any school today, and you're going to find textbooks that are 20 years old, and they're well out of date. And it's not because they don't want to learn. It's just that's what we've got.
Right.
And so with the tools that are available today, you can keep up so much more information. You can make